Good evening, everyone. This speech is not only in support of our friend and fellow activist Michael Heise, but also to our men and women of law enforcement. We know that you have been conditioned, like an attack dog, to view those who stand against the grain of an establishment designed to enslave you and your family as nothing more than terrorists to be dealt with as you may so choose. Well, Henry Kissinger's statement sums it up very well as to what the elites ultimately think of all of us and not just the military. And these are his words. American troops are nothing more than dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns for foreign policy. Honestly, I would be quite surprised if he didn't think the same for the police as it pertains to domestic policy. Well, if the focus of who are the terrorists has moved from Al-Qaeda to people who defend our nation's rule of law, the Constitution, then who or what stands to gain from this? It is those who wish to take over our country to impose their will upon you. How else could you get the citizens of a nation to overthrow their own rule of law? The answer is that you have to manipulate the people's perception of reality that a rule of law based on individual freedom is a threat to society. Now it finally makes sense that 9/11 would have been orchestrated by those who have been manipulating our government to justify the existence of a totalitarian state. Who in particular stands to gain? The Federal Reserve is a good start. For example, since the House of Rothschild is a key shareholder of this institution, masquerading itself as a federal agency, which is truly no more federal than Federal Express, you would have to consider the likely possibility that their goal is a world government that they control in order to secure their power over this planet. Therefore, they have the ability and the motive to manipulate the public's perception to call for their own enslavement. Is it any wonder why are you being told behind the scenes to prepare for war with the American people due to an economic collapse caused by some lone act of terror or an act of nature, and not by design as the key elites would hope they could lead you to believe? Ultimately, you do have the power to organize a massive response to disobey unlawful and unconscionable orders, and that is what they fear. For they fear living in a world in which they no longer own the life of another in order to indefinitely live off the fruits of their labor. Now, I will finish off with a variation of a literary by Aaron Hawkins of Storm Clouds Gathering. Remember, remember the 5th of November. These wars of aggression, this police state oppression hinges on our cooperation. It's not the one at the top of the command or the pyramid that has the final say, as most have been conditioned to believe. The truth is, no one stands above you. For 300 years, our bodies are just dust in the wind, and the queen and the pawn end up in the same box. There are no bonus points for being a good little slave. There is no retroactive compensation for a lifetime of indentured servitude. Plus, there is no honor and bowing down to those who have none, who claim to be our rulers. Until we take our power back without asking for permission. Until we get off our knees, stand up on our feet, look them in the eye, and openly state, "You don't rule us, we rule ourselves." Only then will there be justice, peace, and freedom.